Hello, Karen, Soul Symbols Astrology, and I'm here to give a reading on the triggering of this Grand Water Trine. If you haven't already, go and have a look at my video on contemplating the alchemical astrology. I'll link it here, but it's well worth a watch because all the readings that I'm going to do, the astrological forecasts on this Grand Water Trine, is drawing off of that. So there may be things that are not clear. So go have a look. Okay, so on the 23rd of October, we have the moon triggering this Grand Water Trine. It will only be a day event. The moon is in a direct trine to Jupiter and is approaching the trine to Saturn. It's already trine to Neptune, and earlier in the day it has passed an exact conjunction with Mercury, but it is still conjunct. It's still conjunct now. So what are we looking for? We have Mercury is a lot about communication, about the voice, about how you're going to communicate. Obviously, the themes will be dependent on what house it's in. I will do horoscopes, general horoscopes for this Grand Water Trine at some point, and you can see the overarching themes and where they're sitting and what is being triggered. For example, if you're a Taurus rising, you will have Scorpio in your 7th house of relationships. You will have Jupiter in your 3rd house of siblings, cousins, your local environment. So it could be about your relationships with those in your neighbourhood and brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, cousins. And then you have the trine to Saturn, and where Neptune's sitting, although it's not directly part of this triggering trine, it will become trine to anything that is passing through Scorpio during this time period. But you have Saturn in Pisces. So Saturn is the restriction, but it's in Pisces, near to Neptune. It's technically in a conjunction to Neptune. So you have that boundlessness of Pisces, that oceanic feel with Neptune there. So you can be open to illusion, to escapism, to addiction, but it's in your 11th house. And that is your hopes, your dreams, your wishes and your goals, and the people behind the scenes, friends, benefactors who support you to achieve those. So that's up there in Pisces. I will do a general horoscope, but Taurus, you've had a quick overlook there. So the moon will trine with this Jupiter, which is sitting in its temple, in the moon's temple there over in Cancer, is very likely to be about home, family, security, the mother. Whether it's the mother as you or your mother, there may be things going on around the mother. Now, as I say, with Mercury, there is that sense of issues with communication there. Not issues, but it is about communication and the way you communicate yourself. So it can be how you're communicating yourself to your mother or as a mother. There's things there you need to look at. The moon in Scorpio can sometimes be that smother mother energy. And I did talk in the last video about this Scorpio is like the Nigredo, the Blackening. So there's that sense that we got this ongoing alchemical work with these grand trines, which is seeking to bring about dissolution of things that are connected with your ego. So it may be your role as a mother or how you relate to your mother as a daughter or a son that's coming up for dissolution. The communication with Mercury and the moon can actually bring dramatic, over the top, intense communication. And we've got Mars there. The moon is conjunct, although it's separating. It was exact conjunct earlier in the day. So we got that Mars. We can have aggression with that Mars. We can have that depth of intensity. We can have that emotional warrior energy. So trying to get your voice communicated. But it can also be that gift of speaking with heart and passion, and you might want to share your feelings. You may have intense urges to share your feelings, speak your truth about your feelings. These things can stir up issues with other people, stir up a bit of conflict with Mars there, but you need to go with your heart sense and do what you need to do. Even if there's drama and there's conflict that comes up there, there's no need to worry, because we are going into this alchemical process. So whatever material comes up, you may find that after speaking your feelings, you get feelings of vulnerability or paranoia that spring up. That can definitely come up around this time. If you do have that, open yourself up, open your heart, go down to your soul. We're talking about a transformation, a dissolution. So if feelings are triggered after you've spoken your truth or communicated your truth, or any communications that were maybe aggressive or a bit too intense and dramatic for you, you can use that and use those situations to actually have a deep look in yourself in terms of what is being triggered in me, because this is material to do this alchemical work. And we are talking about going through a process between now, October, until the 6th of December, and it'll probably carry on afterwards. It doesn't stop when the transits stop. The work starts during these intense transits, these major transits, and this Grand Water Trine is definitely a major transit. Then the work will continue. This is a full work that is happening here. It is that Nigredo, the blackening, as I said in the video before. So that's the unconscious coming up for review, which is likely to happen at the beginning of this process. Then we have the purification, the albedo, washing all that material clean. And then we've got the following alchemical work, where the yellowing and the reddening, which is the illumination and the completion. This is not all going to happen in one transit. This is going to be an ongoing process. And we may find, particularly between this October and the 6th of December, that we do have a series of unconscious material arising, purification of that, a cleansing of that, an integration that may happen over and over again. So my suggestion is to journal interactions around this Mercury, Mars and the Moon. Journal, see what is happening between you and your relationships, your communications, your networking, not just with relationships, but your general communication in your workplace, out in your community. Journal incidences that happen. Have a look at your reactions. Make note of them, because Mercury is going to pass back in retrograde and he's going to come forward again. Mercury begins these grand trines, passes over them several times, and he ends the grand trines. So you'll be able to track that through November until December, and we'll see a pattern emerge, something that needs to be purified, washed clean, let go of, or work that needs to be done. So very important to journal, so you can track what is happening, and then you can work with this process, this alchemical process. It is going to set you free from things that have repeated patterns of behavior, communication from others, from you. It's going to enable you to be released from that. This is a water trine. It's about emotional release, and it's also about ease and flow. These trines are wanting to bring ease and flow over this period of time with every aspect of our psyche and of how we interact with others. And what is beautiful with Mercury making several passes, he's the messenger, he's bringing messages, as I said, from Mount Olympus, down to Hades. So it's the divine speaking to our soul in that sense. After he finishes these grand trines 3 times, he passes over and activates these grand trines. He's in a beautiful trine to Neptune, as he's just when he's at the anaretic degree of Scorpio, just about to pass into Sagittarius. He hits this gorgeous trine with a stationary Neptune. Neptune is beginning to go forward after this time. And that will bring that openness to your mind, a peace to your mind, clarity. There's gifts of intuition and insight there. So we may find our minds filled of imagery, inspiration, and have that ability to perceive the patterns and connections, that search for higher meaning. There's always a tendency with Neptune for illusion, but I think after this long process, there will be this beautiful divine communication to us, which is going to give us clarity going forward. So make sure you're open to that, because there's transformation in there. And whenever there is that blackening, that nigredo, that darkness that comes over your communications, that intensity that's overwhelming, any deep overwhelming feelings can be processed, and there is always treasure in that darkness. I say it over and over in both my astrological reads and my tarot readings. When you work with shadow, if things are triggered, if you have an outburst, if there is that outburst for you, if there is aggressive communication towards you, which makes you feel intensely vulnerable beyond what is your usual sense of triggering or intensity that you can deal with, you can just use this to dig down, have a look at what is triggering you. There will be things that come up. We have conditioned patternings in our psyche. We may have been grabbed by that energy that we grew up in. If we had that smothering, overbearing mother, if that was there, then you can definitely deal with that. You can look at the roots of it and you can move on from it. Our mothering, our mothers and how we mother can often follow the pattern of our mother, and often generations of women is passed down. So this is an incredibly good time to have a look at those mother wounds. This is a time to look at those. There's lots online about the mother wound. There's lots online that you can work with. But it is a shadow aspect. We're talking about the moon as an archetype of mother. We can get grabbed by that archetypally. And this can be a time where that depth, that intensity, that drama, that maybe aggressive communication comes up, and you can deal with those issues that are within you that need dealing with. You may not have that, okay? But there is that emotional intensity, and there is a strong need for drama, the need to create drama, whether that's you or people around you. But it's also, as I said, that gift for speaking with heart and passion, Moon, Mercury, Mars, to share your true feelings. So if you've been someone who's held back on your communication, who's held back on your truth, this is an excellent time to exercise that. But it's also an excellent time to reflect on the roots of your emotional patterns, your energetic patterns, your ancestral patterns, what you've received as part of your ancestral karma. There is another part to this where you can have loud and shrill communication. Feelings of annoyance and irritability. It may be people around you, or you may find your excitability or your way of communicating irritates other people. And there's those hair trigger, sharp reactions. It also can be a sign, this Mars, Mercury and Moon energy in Scorpio, that noisy, hectic home life. So if you have a noisy, hectic home life, I know for me, when I had young children, it was like, get me out of here. You just want that peace and quiet. So that may become what you normally tolerate and you're okay with, may become very irritating for you. So this is just a heads up to be aware of those themes, those topics around this moon in Scorpio triggering this grand trine. It is trine Jupiter, and Jupiter will expand. It will exacerbate things. If it's good things, it's lovely. Jupiter's energy is lovely, but if it is those more difficult processes, it will be expanded. But work with that. Kind of allow that, because this is where we are going to see ourselves. That blackening of the alchemical process is to get down to your true essence. So what is happening is that sense of checking out what is your ego, these reactions, these triggers, or this need to speak out aggressively, whatever side of the coin you're on there. If that is happening, have a look, because the process is to get those things out the way. The water trine here is dissolving things to do with your ego. We need to remember that Mars figures here, and Mars can bring that conflict, aggression, anger. And there's nothing wrong with communicating that anger, nothing wrong with assertively speaking, but it's that aggressive, cutting anger that is damaging, and it damages you and it damages the other. If that is connected with your ego, that is what these trines and this alchemical process is trying to deal with. If you're a mother who likes to present as the all singing, all dancing super mum, and you have an overwhelming collapse at this point, then that is because Spirit is wanting you, the universe, the cosmos is wanting you to recognize what your limitations are. And this is because there is a trine to Pisces with Saturn there, and Saturn will show us our limitations, both our time, our body limitations. If you're pushing yourself bodily too much, you're working too much, you're overexerting yourself, or you're not looking after your body, Saturn will show those limits. Not just your body, but your emotions, your temperament, everything. Saturn is going to bring in and show you limitations. If you're overextending yourself with time, Saturn will show you that. And sometimes these lessons are harsh, but Saturn is there to bring that wisdom. Jupiter will expand things. And sometimes when things are expand, it's like having a pot boiling on the top. If it becomes too hot, it boils over. We then know to lower the temperature. So there's this dynamic going on. So don't worry about the things that we often view as negative, because really they are there so that you can find your limits of time, your physical limits, your mental limits, your emotional limits. And then you can conserve your energy and put it into the things that Jupiter in Cancer, that become fertile, that become beautiful. The other side with Jupiter in Cancer is this sense of wanting to, having optimism about your home, having optimism about your loved ones, like really wanting to nurture, really wanting to support. But again, all these things need to be happening in balance. If you are not looking after yourself and you're constantly caring for others and you're not taking that time out, or you're afraid with Mercury to communicate the depth of how you're feeling or the things that are irritating you, then the balance needs to be redressed. We need to be looking at that. There will be Mercury and Mars will be coming into that direct trine with all these planets, and I will continue, and then we'll have the Sun and we will have Venus. So we'll have a look at the significations of those. and we will do some more work to see what is blackening off, where are we trying to get down to the essence of things in terms of those archetypes of those planets. Mercury is very much to do with communication and your mind. So maybe you're taken deep with your mind, or that this transit indicates blockages in your mind, so there's not that watery flow. You're blocked by anxiety or overthinking, over strategizing, having too much information, scrolling endlessly. Mercury here is looking for depth, quality depth, communication. So that is what I have for you. It's short and sweet, but there are things to look for and things to work with there. I hope that was helpful. If it was, do the thing, subscribe, like, put a comment. I need help with the algorithm, people. Yeah, the algorithm's not loving me because I'm not having enough engagement apart from the watches. So a bit of a plea here. I'm speaking my truth, people. In line with the Mars, Mercury and Moon, I'm speaking my truth. Can you please drop a comment, even if it's a small one? Like it, that really helps. Share. And then I can get this out to more people. I really think I've got some decent things to say, and I would like to share it with more people. Okay, there's my truth. There's a demonstration of how to use this transit. All right, lots of love to you all. See you in the next one.